So, yeah, that happened. It's Thursday, and this week has been crazy. We've seen the first remote online bar exam in the history of America and the legal profession be administered across 19 jurisdictions over 2 days, 3 days, sorry, Pennsylvania, and people taking accommodations. It's been, guys, it's been rough. I ain't even taken this test. And I gotta tell ya, I've been talking to people from around the country, from New York to California, DC, Florida, Texas, everywhere, Tennessee, Pennsylvania, everywhere. And I would like to assure you that y'all, that was some fucked up shit right there. Um, I've not been able to get any work done, like actual lawyering or any kind of actual work that pays monies, because I have been watching this debacle unfold for weeks and months, but it just keeps getting worse while everybody says, it's fine. It's so super fine. Like 92% of people were totally able to log in. Guys, okay, here's the thing. Now is the time when you're going to be feeling every feeling you've ever felt and more. And yet at the same time, we're already seeing the spin. We're already seeing the NCBE, the state Supreme Courts, the state boards of bar examiners are starting to try and reframe the narrative. I will give some props to Karen Sloan at law.com, National Law Journal. She's been doing some pretty good reporting, especially the article yesterday. Uh, People say the bar exam went fine, except for the guy who peed his pants. So, you know, we've seen some what I would call inhumane, dehumanizing, degrading behaviors impressed upon people because of this remote format. Literally, people bleeding through their pants or having to run off to deal with menstruation and being afraid they're going to fail the bar exam for that. People being told if they took any kind of breaks at all, it would be an automatic fail. So there were more than one person. We have reports of them either using adult diapers or just sitting in their own urine. This is vile, degrading, disgusting, and it should never have happened to you. It should never have happened to you. Nobody should have ever put you through that. But the fact is, right now, the narrative is currently being spun and reframed, and we have to fight that. We can't just accept the narrative that's being put forward, because ExamSoft obviously has a vested interest in this exam being validated. Now, I gotta be honest, I think it went better than I thought. I honestly thought it was gonna completely crash and that nobody was gonna be able to finish. And the fact that as many people were able to finish is nothing short of miraculous, especially in this current timeline that we're living in, which I thought was the darkest, but apparently it could be worse. So as far as ExamSoft goes, we know lots of people were literally unable to log in, or they lost a lot of time. They were unable to access every part of the exam. They might have had to skip a part because they were online waiting. Some people were actually able to have time returned to them. It depended on the state. It depended on the situation. But what really came to the fore was that ExamSoft was not prepared for the deluge of calls that they received. The mock tests were not in any way indicative of the performance on the day of the exam. There were tons and tons of issues, and this is the big thing. There were tons of issues with the facial recognition, and I think this, along with the failure to give people proper accommodations, are going to be hugely important going forward, because it's just downright discriminatory. The fact, and Deborah Merritt brought this up in her tweets yesterday, and the articles where she was interviewed. We don't know right now how many people were forced to withdraw from the July bar exam that was then turned into the October bar exam, or who were then additionally forced to withdraw from the October bar exam before it was even administered, because of everything literally gesticulates wildly. all of these things. There are a ton of people who already withdrew. So the remaining people who actually took the bar exam aren't necessarily representative of all of how impactful and how much disparate impact this particular administration of the bar exam has had on people of color, people with various different learning styles, neurodivergent people, people who just need basic accommodations, breastfeeding mothers, menstruating women. The list goes on. But the fact that even on the day of the exam, we still had multiple reports of people of varying skin tones, and I've even heard from some white dudes who were unable to get the camera to identify them. And ExamSoft was immediately putting it off onto the person's camera, even though when they took over and were able to use the Zoom cameras, everything was fine. So we know that there are major problems with this technology. It is discriminatory, full stop. I don't care what anybody says. There is no way that you can argue to me that if for the majority of the people who had to withdraw or who were unable to get in, if most of those folks were people of color, we got a big old problem here. Not to mention the ADA issues. Now, I did sit on the California oral arguments, which, by the way, the folks that were arguing that on the side of the takers who were going to need some accommodations, they knocked it out of the park. They were ready to answer every single question. I just don't think that the magistrate judge was able to comprehend or cared really that this technology is super duper discriminatory and it wasn't going to allow people to have a level playing field. The utter failure across the board from the boards of bar examiners, from the state Supreme Courts to not even give you a little soupçon of a reason why they would deny all these petitions when we've literally brought hundreds and hundreds of pages of documents proving how problematic this entire administration of the bar exam would be. This tells me we're going to have a lot of litigation going forward. Not to mention, remember back in 2014? I sure do, because my law partner was taking the bar exam at that time. That was Barmageddon, OG, 2014, Barmageddon. And literally, this was an in-person exam. Nothing else went wrong. You weren't actually taking the bar exam on ExamSoft in the format that you did this week. It was literally just the same format that you used in law school, and then you were uploading your files. That was it. Of course, ain't nobody able to load the files. Nobody could do it for hours and hours. People stayed up until 1 a.m., 2 a.m. all night long. Nobody got any sleep for the MBE the next day because they couldn't upload their files. That led to a class action lawsuit, and it actually was settled. So we don't really know what the fallout of this week is going to be yet. But I just want to assure you that there are a lot of us out here, and people who were advocating for diploma privilege are not stopping now, because guess what, guys? February is going to be a shit show of epic proportions for a variety of other reasons, not just because we don't know what the format is. Will it be able to even happen? Because based on the current infection rates, by February, we're going to be in a really bad spot. It's incontrovertible. We're on the upswing now. And to actually have a bar exam in the wintertime where you're not going to be able to have people lining up for hours and hours and outside and doing temperature checks and then have a pandemic proof hotel thing like Texas did. All of these things are not really going to be feasible because of weather, because of the amount of people who have already been backlogged. Let's just think about it practically. There are people who withdrew back in July. They're set for February. There's all these people that were told by ExamSoft who did not have jurisdiction to do that. A lot of people might not have been able to get in, gave up, were discouraged, whatever, or withdrew before the exam. We have a ton of people who still have not been able to sit for a bar exam, who graduated in May of 2020, who are going to have to try and sit in February, and we don't know what that looks like. We have no idea. Some states have actually just postponed it indefinitely. We don't even know if they're even going to have a February bar exam because they ain't even done grading the October one. We don't even know what that's going to look like. It just keeps compounding and escalating because we're going to see, I was a February bar taker, briefly, because I died briefly in 2L. So I was delayed a semester. So I was one of the fun, fortunate, happy, exciting people who got to take the February bar exam. Now, typically there's fewer takers in February, and it also comprises a lot of retakers. But now we also have all these other folks who withdrew. We don't even know what those numbers are because nobody's being transparent about it. We don't have these facts. Now, I'm hoping that behind the scenes, Deborah Merritt and all these other folks working on these white papers and doing all these other statistical analyses are gathering this information to kind of determine how many people are going to be swept up in this and are going to have to delay to February if in fact it happens, plus how many people graduating in December are going to also be faced afresh with all of these issues. We don't know. And that's my concern, because we're still going to need accommodations. Like, I think one thing that has come to the fore is that just bio breaks need to figure out a way. They need to figure out a way, even if it's like literally just flagging it or doing something. There's got to be a way. Like, I mean, the fact that some people literally took their bar exams in a bathroom sitting on a toilet, or we heard it with these barristers' exam in the UK, people were literally peeing into buckets or whatever. This is disgusting and degrading, and it should not happen again. People should be able to have bio breaks. People should be able to get up if they have to change a tampon, for God's sake, so they don't have to bleed through their pants. Having that did happen to me, and I actually was able to get up and go to shove a hell of a lot of toilet paper into my underpanties. But whatever, like, at least I was able to get up and go. Like, some people are not able to do that. What about lactating mothers? What about all, there's just so many issues. And the fact of the matter is, we still don't have an adequate situation. You can't just keep telling people that they have to do it in person. You cannot. It's still incredibly discriminatory that we were forcing people who required ADA accommodations to do it in person and to risk themselves when there are multifarious reasons why you would not want to do an in-person exam right now. And we know that there were people who got COVID-19 from the in-person administrations, but the bar examiners would not do contact tracing. And the same, like, Texas actually had the audacity to say that they hadn't heard of anybody coming down with it. And we know there were people in maybe Virginia, I think, but definitely Colorado, who had it. And there was no contact tracing. Unacceptable. And it's going to be worse in February. So, it's fine. But see, these are the feelings that I'm having right now, and I didn't even take this test. So I fully get how exhausting, overwhelming, irritating, annoying, saddening, depressing, infuriating, all of these feelings you're feeling right now, on top of the normal feelings that you would feel. And I know a lot of people right now are wondering, like, how should I be feeling right now? What's normal? Shouldn't I feel relieved? Shouldn't I feel happy? Shouldn't I feel like a burden has been lifted? And the fact of the matter is, I think for a majority of people, the answer is no. You don't feel great. You just feel like you've exchanged one rock. You know that scene in The Simpsons where Homer goes to join the Stonecutter Lodge? And they're like, remove the stone of shame and add the stone of victory. And the stone of victory is like way bigger and heavier, and he has to carry it naked up a hill. That's basically the waiting period between the time you sit for the bar exam and the time you get your results it's bad, y'all. I don't know how to describe it other than you feel kind of worse because you're doing less. Like, at least when you're studying for the bar exam, you're scared and depressed and bored and terrified and all of these feelings, but you have stuff to do. You have a goal, you have a job, you have a plan, you have a strategy, you have stuff that you have to do. Once that is removed, once you're not actively studying, you got so much more time on your hands to think about, oh crap, I didn't answer that question right. Oh, Lord, now I realize I totally missed a section, or I did this. Like, you might, like, literally have the experience of waking up in the middle of the night and being like, holy crap, I got this one wrong, or I should have added this. I was having those same types of reactions even after I got my passing results. In fact, I still get nightmares about the bar exam. I'm sorry to say, the trauma, the PTSD that you have from the bar exam is super real, and it doesn't really go away. And I feel like that's why a lot of attorneys have just internalized this narrative that being a lawyer sucks, and you just have to put up with it, and you just have to nut up and ovary up and STFU and just get with the program because it fucking sucks. Look, yeah, being a lawyer can suck, but why? Why does it have to be? We don't have to accept that. And I challenge all of you, as you become part of the legal community, to not accept that. Do not accept people treating you badly. Do not accept people degrading and dehumanizing you for a piece of paper that says you can practice law. Do not accept this behavior. It is wrong. It's unconscionable. And frankly, there's no reason for it. You do not need to be an alcoholic to be a lawyer. You do not have to be addicted to drugs or have substance abuse issues or be on 52 different kinds of antidepressants just to practice law. Because we are supposed to be a community. We're supposed to be advocates for people. When are we going to get to advocate for ourselves? And that's what the diploma privilege movement has been, abolishing the bar. All of that is literally about, we're dying out here and we need some help. We need self-care. So as you're working through these next few days, you're going to be exhausted, emotionally, physically, psychologically drained. You're going to keep thinking of all the things you forgot to put, or maybe the things you put that you thought were wrong, or the answers that, that MBE though, we don't know. Sounds like the MBE was crazy. I mean, to be real though, everybody comes out of the MBE, and I mean everybody, and the people who say that they didn't are lying. They just are lying. Nobody knows what the MBE is going to be like until they take it. Bar prep companies can't prepare you for that particular bar exam because all they have to go on is what went before. And the NCBE likes to mess with people. They will change the way the questions look. They will change the formatting. Usually if they change the formatting, they'll give you a heads up. And if they're going to add a new subject like they did with CivPro, they started working practice CivPro questions in for a few years before they actually made it official. So that's under normal circumstances. This ain't normal circumstances, and the NCBE is dead set against these remote exams. And it doesn't have anything to do with cheating. It has everything to do with protecting their IP. That is what it comes down to. It's about the money, y'all. And it's always been. They say they're a nonprofit, but they're sitting on millions and millions of dollars. And it's all about that money. That's exactly what it is. They want to maintain their superiority, their monopoly, their cartel on bar prep materials, and they don't want you to know how the sausage is made. They don't want you to know what's in it, for sure. And that's where this is all coming from. Because if they reuse questions or they just slightly reframe them or whatever, and they keep recycling them, there's always bar prep company people who are taking this exam. This is a fact. How else are they going to be able to know what to prepare people for? Because you can't wait until the exam results come out and until they release some questions, or that you can license the questions to incorporate that into your next year's bar prep. You can't wait that long. That's why they send people. Every single bar prep company does this. They do it legally. These people are going through all of the stuff. They're signing up. They're sending people out to take these exams just so that they can report back. They're not in there literally writing down questions. They're not doing it like that, but they're going in there with an eye on, oh, okay, they're testing more of this format of question, or the MBE looked like it had a higher percentage of these types of questions, or they're moving away from these sorts of questions and moving towards these. Now, there have been some jiggery-pokery in the past. Y'all know who you are, who went in there and stole some stuff. It did happen. That was before the NCBE was licensing the questions and the bar prep companies had to come up with their own. But basically now you're literally practicing with released questions. Now, again, the value of a released question is minimal in some instances because they might not use that type of question, that type of formatting, or they're moving away from testing in that particular way. So as much as I have problems with parasitic industries, of which I was a part, I worked for everybody. I worked for the big three, either as a student rep or a sales rep or grading or doing something else. I've worked for everybody. So I know what goes on. I know how the sausage is made, at least with respect to bar prep. And pretty much every course has the same stuff. You're all getting the same kind of stuff. And it's all basically licensed from the NCBE, unless they might make up some of their own stuff. But nowadays, it's all pretty much they're licensing it, or they're using their own academic team to come up with stuff that's very similar based on the trends that they're seeing. So, as much as I give them crap, I mean, they're trying their best. With respect to going forward on February, if you're concerned that you're going to be retaking, now is the time to demand that every single bar prep company, especially the ones who love coming at me on Twitter, feel free, come at me, bro. I will do this all day. Tell these people, you need to know what they're doing right now to prepare. Because if they're like, oh, it's just going to be in person in February, tell them to go straight to Shinoleum. They do not get to tell you that right now. Ask them specific questions. because they're going to be like, we've got unlimited essay grading. We've got question banks galore. We've got this and that and the other thing. That's all fantastic. But I don't give a shit. They have that stuff already, and it wasn't helping you, because if they're not completely reconceptualizing how they're teaching you based on the format, like these guys literally, they need to put together a bar prep that specifically teaches how to take the bar exam online. Like they have to like think about it in the worst possible context. You have no highlighting, you have no scratch paper, you have no virtual scratch paper. You literally have to take it completely online. They need to completely reconceptualize how they're teaching for that. If they are not prepared to do that, if they refuse to do that, if they hem and haw and say, well, we're working on it, do not give them your money. Do not fall for the traps. They're going to come at you so hard. Especially, you'll be getting hit with all of these like, okay, we're going to give you a free retake. Well, that's great and all, but make sure that you're pressing them. Now, if you're in that sort of liminal space where you paid, you're getting a free retake, they're not going to feel quite as motivated to provide you with the information that you seek. That's why we are going to marshal our resources, and we're going to enlist the 3Ls. Hey 3Ls, hey guys, hey everybody who is graduating in December, or who has just put off the bar exam and is taking it in February. You guys, if you have not yet paid in full for your bar prep or selected bar prep, which totally happens, go now and start to demand that they tell you what they're going to do about remote exams. What are they going to do if the format switches to open book? At the very least, they could get a professor. All they need to do is get a video. Have one professor. Zachary Kramer at Themis, fantastic. That guy is really good. There are so many, like Kaplan has great professors. Barbary has great professors. Everybody has good quality professors that care about the students and really want to see you succeed. All they got to do is get a couple really good, engaging professors to teach you how to succeed on an open book exam when you have just like everything that we've seen. Like they need to do that. They need to tell you how to prepare for a remote exam. They need to show you how to prepare for an exam that is like this year's exam was, where we had fewer MBE questions. Like, how do you really focus on what's important when the questions are worth more points because there's fewer of them? So they need to incorporate all of this into what they're teaching people in January. And a lot of these courses open up as soon as November. So they need to come correct right now and tell you what they're doing to help you right now. I don't care about money back guarantees. I don't give a shit about endless graded essays. None of it matters if it doesn't conform to the format that you're going to be taking. So demand now. And the best way to do it, call them out. Call them out online, on Instagram, on Twitter, on Snapchat, on TikTok. I don't care what format. Call them out. They get very upset if you at them. So at them constantly. Talk to your bar prep, your bar prep team at your law school. If you have one, your academic support person. Talk to those folks. Tell them what your experience was. Tell them the support that you think you're going to need. Enlist their help, because I can tell you, when I was a sales rep, the first thing I did was I tried to get in really good with the academic support team. I gave them free stuff. I gave them free courses to give out to people, free scholarships. I got up all in their business and made sure that they knew exactly what was going on with our course, so they can demand from your school's rep what they're doing. They can get assurances, and they can also refuse to let people come on campus to sell stuff to you until they come correct and tell you what they're going to do to help you. So make sure, hold these people to account. Your law school should be demanding better. You should be demanding better. There is no CNF repercussion for going after a vendor of bar prep. And I do know for a fact that Barbary has threatened before, when they've tried to rope people into signing these contracts of adhesions as 1Ls, saying that if you put $100 down now and don't pay for the rest of the course, we're going to report you to CNF. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard, and it would never happen. It's just an empty threat. Any threat that a commercial bar prep company makes, first of all, don't give them your money. But if you start hearing any kind of threats, or if they come at you with anything like that, report them immediately to your law school. Tell everybody, tell your deans, tell your academic support people, and make sure it is all over the interwebs. because that is the only way you're going to get some action. So that is one thing you can start doing now. Now, as far as, how do we process our grief? How do we process all these emotions that we've got right now? It's sort of like a death in a way, because you've spent so long doing something, and now you're in this place where you feel alone. There's a lot of other people out there who feel the same way, but they don't know what you're feeling specifically. And even just knowing that everybody feels bad doesn't really help, because you had a personal relationship with this process. You went through your own struggles. And I've talked with people who literally spent from dawn to dusk studying, and people who were struggling just to keep it together with childcare and doing whatever they could, catch as catch can on the side. People who were, law review are freaking out. People who, were, part-time students and night student. Everybody's having a different sort of reaction. There's guilt. People feel guilty. It's normal to feel guilty that oh, I didn't study enough, I didn't prepare enough, or I could have done this, or I could have done that. Some people come out thinking, damn, I misspent my time. I spent too much time on MBEs and not enough time on essays, or, well, that MPT was a nightmare. Those CPTs were nightmares. Those, Texas short answer questions or whatever were horrifying, and I really should have spent more time on oil and gas. You're going to be feeling self-doubt, insecurity, a lack of purpose too. I think one thing that happens is you feel a sense of emptiness. You feel a sense of something is missing in my life and I don't know what it is, and I don't know whether I should feel happy about it or sad about it, but I feel like I should be doing something, but I don't know what it is. It eventually does go away, but for the next, month at least, you're going to have weird mood swings. Sometimes you'll just not want to get out of bed. Sometimes you'll, be like, I need 4 cocktails. Sometimes you'll feel like my family and friends don't understand me. They think they don't understand why I'm not just back to normal. And I'm in no way belittling or demeaning in any way, people who've served our country in the armed forces, but I do feel like it's just a teensy bit sort of like coming home from war, where at first you're like the conquering hero. They're like, yay, you did it, you took the bar exam, aren't you so excited, woo, USA. And then after a couple days, they're like, well, don't you have a job yet? I'm planning a wedding. Can't we get back to that? Or I need you to pick up this. People start putting demands on you a lot faster than you thought. For most of us, we're like, I just really need to lie in the bed until November or December or whenever the results come in. I just need to lie in the bed, or I just need to get back to my job. But I feel like, especially with family and friends, it's very difficult for them, unless they've gone through this process. It's very difficult for them to be able to empathize in the way that you need. And it's also it's also disheartening, because I feel like in the beginning, people rely on their law school friends, but you find that talking to your friends about it makes it worse somehow, because at some point you're going to come across somebody that you went to law school with who's going to be like, I didn't think it was that bad. I don't know what everybody's whining about. I mean, Jesus, if you had just studied more instead of being out here trying to get diploma privilege, it would have been fine. There's always going to be some douchebags out there who are like that. They're scared too. They're just using that as a defense mechanism. There will be people out here who did everything right, but who are going to be crying for 2 months. And a lot of those folks are on law review, and you're just going to be like, why? If these people are freaking out, what about me? So at some point, there are diminishing returns when it comes to talking to people who just took the bar exam. And then it gets even worse, because if you try to talk to people who took the bar exam in February, or who took the bar exam, a year ago, they're going to be like, it sucks, it's fine, you probably passed, don't worry about it, because they're repressing their memories. They don't want to get triggered. It's triggering. It's very triggering. And for me personally, I've never escaped the bar exam since I graduated from law school. I went right into selling bar prep. I've been coaching people this whole time, and I am always involved with the bar exam every single year. So I've never stopped taking it to some extent. I've never stopped being a part of it to some extent. So every year around February, around July, I get triggered. I start having nightmares. I start flipping out, freaking out. Like it happens. And this is something it'll happen to you too because not only is 2020 a nightmare, but this bar exam was worse than any that's ever been administered. I don't care if you had to take the bar exam after Hurricane Katrina, which, some people did, but the hurricane was, you know, one hurricane. We've had way more hurricanes and the place is on fire and things are going to hell. So, like, it's not really fair to compare other people's experience to what you had. You just have to focus on now trying to retain your sense of quiet, calm, I guess resignation. You're going to go through basically all the same sort of stages of grief. Like at first, it's denial, fear, bargaining, acceptance finally. Like you might not get to acceptance until like a week before the results come out. And at that point, you're going to go through all of these stages again. So to just prepare you, it's gonna be rough, guys. It's gonna be rough. So I encourage you to really seek help if you need it. If you find that you're really struggling with substance abuse in some way, now is the time to really seek out some help for that because it's not going to get better in the legal profession. It really isn't. We have some of the highest rates of depression, suicide, substance abuse, specifically alcohol, but pretty much any drug. Seek help. Don't be ashamed to ask for help. Now is the time to get help if you can, if you need it. Please ask for help. Don't suffer in silence. Even though, it can be embarrassing. And I know a lot of people are worried, like, if I ask for help now, is that going to affect my character and fitness? No, no. Do not prioritize character and fitness above your own mental health, your psychological well-being, don't let this kill your joy for living. Like it's killed our hopes and dreams, which is sort of what it feels like right now. It sucks. It sucks. There's no way to get around it. This period sucks. You might find yourself stress eating. Try to exercise. That helps a lot. Get out as much as you can. If where you are, it's unhealthy to go outside, try and do some yoga. Yoga with Adrienne on YouTube is free. She's great. She has a really cute dog named Benji who sometimes comes in. She's super soothing, super nice, bringing that white lady yoga energy to the masses. And at the beginning of the pandemic, it was like the only thing that I could do to sort of help me get through. Gesticulates wildly. Try to reconnect with family and friends who are not involved with the bar exam and who are not going to put a lot of emotional requirements on you. Now, as a woman, as a parent, you have a lot of emotional labor. You've got your own kids. A lot of you are schooling your children at home, doing remote learning. A lot of people are working full time still, trying to cobble together enough money to survive because you've been delayed so long. There's a lot of emotional labor that goes unspoken that I think this pandemic has really revealed. Now is not the time for you to accept a further burden of other people's emotional needs at all. You can empathize, you can listen, but don't agree to be part of somebody's wedding right now. Don't agree to be planning a big party or any kind of like a family reunion. There's always something. And I know that Thanksgiving's coming up. I don't know what the situation is going to be, whether Thanksgiving is really going to even happen, but if there's a big family gathering and there's some kind of pressure to perform, abdicate this year. Ask for a pass. Do it next year. You don't need more pressure right now. You don't need more things that are going to cause you to have a mental breakdown if you haven't already, because I know pretty much everybody had some kind of a breakdown, either the weekend before, the night before, the day of, the day after. Like, don't be ashamed to show your emotions and let people know how you're feeling. Just don't hold it in. People don't know the toll that this has taken on all of us. I mean, if I feel this bad and I didn't even do this exam, you can just imagine how bad you're feeling. Tell people how you feel truthfully. Don't ask for anything other than just that they hear you. And, if you have to get, professional help, and I think just getting a counselor, just go to BetterHelp. You can get, hooked up with somebody who can do it, online. Just talking to somebody who can really just listen and say, you know what, that sounds like it sucked. That sounds like a horrible thing to go through. That sounds like a really difficult time for you. It sounds overwhelming. It sounds like a lot to have to deal with. It sounds like a challenge. All of these things are true. And all of your feelings are valid. Do not feel bad for feeling any kind of feeling. If you feel great, oh my God, please celebrate that. Don't feel bad for feeling good. Celebrate it. Maybe not to your friends who are super depressed about it, but go celebrate with some people who haven't seen you in 6 months because you've been studying for this stupid exam. If brunch is open in your city or town and you can go get some brunch, get some brunch. Do something you've wanted to do safely. Do something that you've wanted to do but haven't been able to. Treat yourself. Try to get back to a sense of whatever normality in this new normal that you can achieve. But by all means, ask for the help that you need when you need it. Don't wait. Don't wait until you get your bar results to start asking for help. Because I think one way to get to that acceptance state earlier is to kind of anticipate all the things that could happen, but then see yourself overcoming it. So yeah, best circumstance, and what I tell people to do when they're taking the bar exam is visualize yourself where you want to be in, a 75th floor Sears Tower corner office at a fancy law firm with your name on the door, or your first day as a public defender, or your first day working at that pro bono legal aid foundation or whatever. Like, think of where you want to be, where you dreamed you would go when you were applying to law school, and just see yourself there and just feel good about it. Imagine your own business card. What is that going to look like? What's the door to your office going to look like? All of this stuff. And then think about, well, what happens if I pass, but my character and fitness is delayed? Okay. You know what? It happens to a lot of people. And the number one reason why is almost always financial. We have seen that some states' bar examiners and Judy Gunderson of the NCBE have alluded, vaguely threateningly, that they will either delay or maybe deny people CNF for advocacy for diploma privilege, or for basically calling out all of these bodies, these regulatory bodies online for their incompetent reaction to the situation with the bar exam this year. The worst they can do is delay. Honestly. I mean, yeah. And I definitely have heard from some people who it seems quite clear that they're being harassed and delayed, and they're being held up as a kind of as a symbol, as an example of what not to do if you want your situation to go smoothly. But here's the thing, guys. If you've passed the bar exam and character and fitness is the last thing, you can fight it. Like, for the most part, they're gonna haul you in for character and fitness over your credit history. Now, this literally happened to me. Now, I just want to point out, I was a non-traditional taker of the bar exam. I went to law school when I was 32, after having been a chef, after having worked in the film industry, after having traveled and taught English in Japan for a couple years. So I had a varied background. I was a very non-traditional student, but I was also on law review. But being a 35-year-old woman with a husband and, multiple different types of jobs, we had filed for bankruptcy in 2003, and I sat for the bar exam in 2009. So it wasn't within the period of time that it sort of drops off of your credit report or whatever. So the bankruptcy was there. Plus, in addition, part of the reason I went to law school to begin with was I was suing landlords because they were either in New York, they were violating the rent stabilization laws, or in Chicago, they were violating the resident landlord tenant ordinance, and I was suing these guys, and I was winning. We were winning. We did have attorneys, but you're required to turn that over. So I literally got hauled in, and I didn't get this notice until literally 1 week before swearing in. So I took the bar in February. I got my result on April Fool's Day, 2009. And then swearing in was May 7th, 2009. I believe it was like April 30th or something, maybe, when I got told that I was going to have to come in for a meeting before I was going to be sworn in. I was shitting a brick, y'all, because I didn't know what they wanted. So I came in with like three reams of paper. I had every single lawsuit I had filed. I had my bankruptcy filing. I had my student loans and all of that stuff. And I went in there and it was a face to face with an attorney, and she said, "Wow, it looks like you owe a lot of money." And I said, "Well, yeah, because I went to law school." She said, "Are you going to pay your student loans?" And I said, "Yeah." "Are you going to stay current?" "Yeah." "Are you going to go bankrupt again?" "No." And that was pretty much it. She was like, "All right, well, see that you don't." And then I got to be a lawyer. So, I have seen people, and this is the killer. This is why I mean, let's just burn it all down. Frankly, I want to burn this whole process down, because can we talk about character and fitness? What exactly is it? Now, of course, they don't want people who are committing fraud. They don't want people with a long criminal background. Although, like, a criminal background does not preclude you from being an attorney at all, by any means. They're looking at your credibility for truthfulness, most likely. They don't want you embezzling money from your client. They want you to adequately represent your client and to have their best interests at heart. That's what they say they're looking for. But the fact that they go so heavily into your credit report, a lot of that, I think, comes down to just pure racism, because we know that folks that have a lot of difficulty getting credit, or who have credit issues, are people of color. For example, my law partner had that problem too. He passed the bar exam, but his character and fitness was delayed. It was delayed for several months, because we had to go through and make sure that, like, he had to, like, comb through his credit report, challenge some errors, because, like, you might have errors on your credit report. So if you're worried about character and fitness, look at your credit report right now. Go through Experian, Equifax, and whatever, TransUnion or whatever. Go through all three, check them all. Make sure that everything on there is correct. If there are any errors, challenge them now. Get this stuff taken off your credit report, because they will look at that stuff. If you're delinquent on any accounts, if you have, the main thing they're looking for is any kind of student debt default. If you're in default on anything, they are going to hold up your character and fitness until you can bring that up. And that can literally come down to calling up the credit card company and saying, I want to start a payment plan. I want to get a plan in place so that I can get in good standing. So you have to go through and look at your finances and make sure that you're in good standing. The main thing that they're going to come at you for is going to be financial stuff. And the second thing they're going to come at you for is any kind of discrepancy between your law school application and your bar application. Now, this is an easy thing to screw up, because when you're applying to law school, you might not understand the terminology. You might not know what they're asking for. You might not think you have to report something, but you do. For example, in Illinois, they require you to report juvenile infractions, even though in Illinois, those files are sealed automatically. And you would have to literally get a court order to open them again. And even if as an adult, you had a criminal charge or an arrest that was dismissed or expunged, they want everything. They want absolutely everything. And I think for some people, when they're going into law school, they're not sure how to get that stuff, or they don't know where to go, or they just don't understand what any of this stuff means. So they don't necessarily report those things. And of course, the law schools will always tell you, when in doubt, report. And there's absolutely no benefit. And in fact, it's a detriment if you think you can hide something, because you can't. I've actually been told that the CNF process in Illinois is more stringent than the FBI background checks, like based on the stuff that they ask for and what they look at. It's anecdotal, could be wrong, I don't know. But what I'm saying is, it's those little things. If you forgot to mention that you had some driving, like if they ask for your driving record and you had you got a ticket in Alabama that you forgot to report, they might find it. So you can make amendments all the way through. Now is the time to start amending your application. Be proactive about it. Look at your, and I know sometimes it's hard to see what's on your, I don't know what's on my law school application. I'm not sure what that would be. If you're concerned about it, I would say contact your law school and see if they have any of that stuff on file, because I honestly don't know. But I think if you're concerned about there being any discrepancies, be proactive and start amending your character and fitness application to ensure that you're being completely forthright and completely transparent. That's what they're looking for. Believe me when I tell you, these are small offices. They are not equipped to have a whole team of people tracking people down across social media to see what they posted about diploma privilege or abolishing the bar or saying mean things about Judith Gunderson. Because it's not against the law to say that Judith Gunderson does not know what she's talking about when it comes to the bar exam because she never took one. And I don't think she's a credible resource when it comes to that. So come at me. As far as how to sort of gird your loins for what might happen. The worst thing that could happen, the absolute worst thing that could happen is that you have a bad result. That's the worst thing that could happen. The worst thing that could happen. Now, again, I understand that not passing the bar exam because of a technical difficulty or because you had to take a bio break or because ExamSoft failed you in any number of ways, it's so unfair. It's completely inequitable and it should never have happened to you. I envision before the results come out, there will be lawsuits. Just come on, that's what we do. People are mad, and there's plenty of things that I think you can sue for, regardless of the waiver that you signed. I still don't think what ExamSoft did is 100% protected by that waiver. I don't think the BLEs are 100% protected by these waivers. I don't think they're as protected as they think they are. And I feel like the amount of people who have been negatively impacted and the fact that it's going to come out, it's going to shake out pretty discriminatory. It's going to be people who need accommodations and people of color. Let's just be real. And a lot of women who will have had to withdraw because they also had to work full time and somehow school their children during a pandemic. So there's going to be a lot of disparate impact on particular people that I think we will see a lot of litigation happening before the results even come out, and certainly after. So, I mean, there's two things you can prepare for as far as what happens if I get a bad result. The first thing that you can do is have a plan in place for taking it again. Ain't nobody want to do that. I sure as hell don't want to do it. But I am here for you. Anybody who needs my help to take this bar exam a second time. I mean, my specialty is coaching people through retakes, especially people who really have a limited amount of time to study. So I can definitely help you with that. But as far as your second option is to prepare your sort of gather all the documents that you have, gather any call logs to ExamSoft, any notes that you took, or any social media posts that you made, any emails to the BLEs or to ExamSoft. Gather all that documentation and start putting it into a case file. And what I want you to do now, while your memory is still fresh, and this will kind of help alleviate some of the anxiety because you're going to be putting your lawyer brain to work, but what I want you to do right now is to start crafting that narrative. Write the timeline. Say, okay, on this day, I had my whole kit ready. Here's what I had. This is the technology that I was using. I was using a Mac with Sierra or High Sierra or whatever. I was using this type of a blah, 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 and all of these things. At 8:52 a.m. I went to log in and I couldn't get in. I tried to get in several times. I then went to the various places they told me to go to. There was no information. I then called ExamSoft and was on the phone for an hour. They told me to withdraw. I then called the BLE who said don't withdraw and told me that I could work on a solution, or there was no solution offered. I was then told to withdraw. Like, go through the entire thing. And I know it's super triggering, but I think it's better to do it while your memory is still fresh. And make sure that you document as much as you can and have your exhibits handy, like the emails that you sent, you know, a screenshot of your call log. Like, I was on the phone with ExamSoft for an hour and 42 minutes. If you were kind of posting things on social media contemporaneously, I would also do screen grabs of those and compile them somewhere or embed them in a document somewhere so that you have them handy. Just prepare, because you can challenge, you can appeal. But I think you're more likely, the likelihood is you're not going to be able to challenge them on your score necessarily. You should be given, depending on your state jurisdiction, usually they give you some kind of a score report. They at least will tell you, for example, in Illinois, they will literally say, for property, you got a 2. For crim law, you got a 3. For the MPT, you got a 4. Like, that's all they will tell you. They won't tell you why. Usually a jurisdiction might have some kind of a review that you can sign up for where you get sample passing answers that you can compare. Frankly, I don't know that that is going to be as helpful as in previous years, because I think a lot of the reasons why people might not succeed is because they weren't able to complete the full exam. They didn't have enough time. ExamSoft shut down before they were able to finish. Whatever was going on, because I know that there were a lot of issues happening. Another thing you should really be working on too is compiling, especially for those of you who literally were hacked because of the ExamSoft software. And we literally saw a situation yesterday where one taker, her computer was taken over by a hacker while she was taking the exam. So all of that information, those videos, the evidence that you've accumulated, that's an even separate thing, because you did not assume the risk of opening yourself up to having your computer breached, your identity stolen, your financial documents stolen, or having malware put on your computer, or having somebody do some kind of a, like take over your computer and demand money or something. Like, you did not assume that risk. There is no way that they can argue that. And if they do, they're stupid. It's a terrible argument. We know that they failed. They made you accept risks. It's a contract of adhesion. There's so many things that I think we can challenge going forward. So use your lawyer brain now to fully detail all the issues that you had. And how about some fun issue spotting? Why not? We did all this eye-racking and cracking and C-wrecking and all this other junk. Use your lawyer brain now. Start spotting those issues. And if you're concerned, now's the time to start seeking legal advice. There are plenty of attorneys who actually, part of their practice is just challenging bar prep, or not, challenging bar exam results and handling appeals and things like that. That might be a good resource to go to first. With respect to the potential tort liabilities for these online exams, I think now is the time to just start kind of like, talking to law Twitter. Get an idea. Talk to some of your professors. See what they think. Hit up your torts professor and see if they have any recommendations, and just start trying to formulate an attack plan, because I think we're going to need to. The only way that this is going to change is if we all band together and start demanding changes, because February is coming and the fight is not over. We don't know what's going to happen in February, and based on what we've seen, the bar examiners have to do a much better job. ExamSoft has to do a much better job if it's going to be remote again. The bar prep companies have to do a better job. We need to demand that. Don't stop now. Advocacy doesn't stop now. Working towards a different way to license attorneys doesn't stop now. The journey is going to be somewhat arduous, but it's necessary. We have to change the way we bring people into the legal profession. It is inequitable, it is discriminatory, it is sexist, it's problematic in so many ways, and it must end now. So that's kind of what I'm feeling right now. Please feel free in the comments to, I don't know, feel your feelings, share your stories with us. Tell us what some of the challenges were that you experienced. Give us your stories. And I'm happy to, you can hit me up on my DMs. I'm at 420 Attorney Chicago on Twitter. I think you guys know where to find me. So, hit me in the DMs if you want a little pick me up or whatever. But just know, however you're feeling, it's okay right now. There's no wrong way to feel about it. There's no there's no rainbow right now. There's no pot of gold right now. We're still kind of in the eye of the hurricane, but we're here for you. There's a lot of us out here who are here for you. So please reach out and take time to get back to being a person again.